Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today, let's make a rainbow geode shirt. The shirt was washed and dried, soaked in a soda ash solution for 20 to 30 minutes. I wrung it out of my Panda spin dryer so it's just barely damp. I've also turned the shirt inside out. I'm going to find an area on the shirt where I'd like the center of a geode to be. Then grabbing a single layer of the shirt, I'm going to lift it up off of the table and slide my hand down to the bottom where I'd like the bottom or the end of the geode to be. Then I'm going to begin tying with sinew right at the end or the bottom of the geode, and tie the sinew lines out toward the center of the geode. I think it's easier for me to get a more organic or natural feel to the geodes when I tie them from the bottom instead of starting in the middle. If I start at the middle or the center of the geode, I have more of a tendency to make the geodes look a little bit like a bullseye. And as I tie the geodes, I'm going to try to vary the sizes of them and how many lines I put in them. So you can make as many geodes on a shirt as you want or as few. You can put the lines close together, far apart. I try to vary, put some lines that are closer together and some that are further apart. I want to try to make them look fairly organic. This is one of the designs that if the shirt is a little bit messier, it actually ends up looking a little better, I think. Trying to make it too perfect doesn't make it look quite as organic. When I get down toward the center or the end of the geode, I'm going to press that area in or ruffle it up a little bit just to try to make it not a perfect circle right in the middle. For time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and speed the video up, but I'm going to continue this process all over the shirt until it's fully tied. Once all the geodes are tied, I'm going to add a little bit of sinew to that middle area, just to add in a few sinew lines and a little added interest to that space. It'll also help the geodes lay down a little bit flatter so that it makes them easier to dye. Once I have the shirt tied, I'm going to set it aside for a few days and let it dry out completely. I get better color saturation on the inside of these geodes if they're totally dry when I start applying the dye. Otherwise, the fibers are already so full of soda ash solution that they don't soak up the dye quite as well. And I can end up with some white areas or streaks in the inside of my geodes. Okay, so the shirt is completely dry and it's ready to start applying the dye. To hold the dye and the ice on top of the shirt, I'm going to make myself an ice barrier using some silicone cake molds. I'm putting the silicone cake molds around the shirt, and I'm going to hold them in place using some wooden clothespins. I'm going to attach the clothespins to my wire rack and try to press them as close up next to the shirt as possible. I have a link down below this video in the description for where I purchased these silicone cake molds, along with links for several of the other items that I use when I tie-dye, and I also list all the colors that I've used on this shirt and links to where I purchased them as well. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to dye this shirt with rainbow colors. And all of the colors that I'm going to use today are Dharma Trading Company colors. For the rainbow, I'm using fire red, deep orange, lemon yellow, bright green, turquoise, grape, and fuchsia. I'm going to keep them in that order, but the initial color or the starting color that I put in the center of each geode is going to be a little bit different. So for example, on the first geode, I'm going to make the center of the geode fire red, followed by deep orange, lemon yellow, and so on. However, on another geode, the center may start with grape, followed by fuchsia, then fire red, deep orange, and so on. I'm trying to avoid getting a lot of brown on this shirt, so I'm trying to keep the colors in order and not just randomly place them on the shirt. For the center area in between all of the geodes, I'm going to randomly place some fuchsia and turquoise in that space. Now I'm going to add an additional sprinkle of soda ash on top of the dye and place the ice on top. I set the shirt aside and allowed the ice to melt, and after the first layer of ice melted, there was still quite a bit of undissolved dye left sitting on top of the shirt, so I added a second layer of ice and allowed it to melt as well. After the second layer of ice melted, I allowed the shirt to process or batch for somewhere between 48 and 72 hours. You don't have to wait that long, however, I would recommend that you wait at least 24 hours. I took the shirt to my utility sink and I began rinsing it in cold water to rinse out any of the soda ash. Once the excess soda ash is rinsed out of the shirt, it's not very easy for any of the excess dye to rebond with the shirt. Since these folds are so thick, I went ahead and left my water running as I was untying the shirt, and I continually kept rinsing in cold water and rinsing out each one of the geodes. Here again, I'm trying to make sure I don't end up with a lot of brown on the shirt. So I want to try to make sure I get that excess soda ash out of each one of these geode areas before it comes in contact with another color. Then once I feel like the shirt has been rinsed really well in cold water, I gradually warm the water up to hot to rinse out any of the excess dye that didn't bond with the shirt. After a while, I went ahead and ran some hot water in my utility sink and added a little bit of Blue Dawn dish detergent to the water. The Blue Dawn will help keep any of the excess dye that's been rinsed out from rebonding to the shirt. I allowed the shirt to soak for a while, and when the water cooled, I changed it out and continued the soaking process until the water was almost clear. Then I put the shirt into my washing machine along with a little bit of Dharma's textile detergent, and I washed it using a hot cycle. Then after the shirt was washed and dried, this is what it looks like. So what do you guys think? I really like the way this shirt turned out. I'll be honest, this was a special order and I was really nervous about whether or not I was going to end up with a lot of brown on the shirt. But I was pleasantly surprised. I did end up with some brown on the shirt, but not as much as I was expecting. And I really think the shirt looks cool. I like the fact that I used a different color in the center of each geode because I think that gives a lot of interest to the shirt. And it makes every geode look very unique. I also think I got really good color saturation, and the only white that's left on the shirt was intentional white. So overall, I think the shirt looks really cool. But what do you guys think? Drop me a comment down below and let me know how you feel about the rainbow geodes. Do you prefer a more organic and natural color palette on the geodes, or do you like the fun rainbow color palette for this geode shirt? And also, if you've enjoyed the video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.